In Service to Love, the relationship podcast that helps you create more love in the practical day-to-day, centering connection in the life of the modern family with your host, therapist, mother, and artist, Randé Dorn. Hello, everyone. This is Randé Dorn, and I am your host. This is the In Service to Love podcast. Welcome to anyone who is new here, and welcome to everyone who is not new here. Just love showing up to these things. So today, this podcast is being released on New Year's Day. So happy New Year, happy 2023. On this day, I'm recording this early. On this day, I will be at Disneyland with my kids having a good time and ushering the new year. So hopefully you are also spending an incredible time with family or with yourself in a way that brings you joy and helps to just start this new year off in a really beautiful way. I I wanted to do this particular podcast. If you listened to the one last week for Christmas, it was about grief. It was about faith. If you haven't, please go back. It's actually a really beautiful episode. And there is something I think really tender about releasing things and making space in order for new things to come in. And so this episode is about bringing the new stuff in and deciding what that might be for you. So I wanted to give you a couple of things to think about. Of course, many of us think about resolutions, and the idea of a resolution, right? It's the decision to do something. It's about making a commitment, and oftentimes we make these commitments for the year or as a way to start the year off on a good foot. In order to do that, we also have to release what may be trying to follow us from the old year. So instead of just resolving, I have so many notes too, to share. So I will try and go through what I think hopefully will help you and will will resonate and feel important to you. One of the things we typically do here on the first in the beginning of the year, these big ones, right? So we're resolving to lose weight, we're resolving to make more money, we're resolving to find true love. Many of us might put these same three things or some different wording around those same three things year after year after year. And so one of the things I want you to consider before you kind of create your list is to think about why I want those things. Why are those things so important to me? What will they give me if I were to achieve them? So when you think, I want to lose weight, it's like, I want to lose weight for what reason? Some of us might say, because I want to get back into my old clothes. Well, why do you need to get back into, your clothes from 1987? What is that? What does that do? What does that prove? Is it so that you can relive the experience of being in 87? Is it to have the type of fun or joy that you remember having during that time? Because oftentimes when we actually lose weight, we don't, once we put those jeans back on, we're like, yay, we don't actually wear them out in the world. We usually go shopping, or we don't, or we start to backslide, we start to shame and punish ourselves for some reason because we've achieved something that maybe we weren't able to hold. So why I'm asking you for you to consider the deeper root, the why, is because I want you to circumvent what I would consider these symbols instead of going for the root. If what I say I want is to lose weight, then maybe what I'm really saying is that I want to feel healthy in my body. If I'm saying I want to make more money, what I'm really saying is that I want to feel more abundant. I want a sense of more flow. I actually may want a sense of more freedom or liberation that I think money will bring me. Also health, right? Weight loss can also symbolize freedom. And if I have more movement in my body, more flexibility, more suppleness, if I don't feel so weighed down in a particular way, then again I'm getting a sense of a sense of lightness, of a sense of playfulness or maybe joy that I had again when I was younger. If I think about wanting more love in my life, I might be thinking about really the sense of connection and the sense of alignment that connection might bring me. So you see how those are kind of deeper, more foundational ways of thinking. They're also broader. So I can lose weight but not be healthy. That's another reason why weight loss doesn't typically stick if we go about it from a place of shame or of punishing ourselves. And so if I'm saying I just want to feel more joyful, more acceptance around my body, and I'm doing it from a place of feeling healthy, then the weight will align with that desire, a deeper desire. Again, I can call in love. I can call in lovers. You can find one today, probably if you wanted, that might not give you the true experience that you're looking for, which is to be seen, which is to feel connection, which is to feel um, held and warm and uh, hmm, loved in terms of who I am, the love that comes from my personality versus the love that comes from a desire of my body. We want the integration of those, but when they're separate, you can see how finding quote unquote love, particularly from a lover or from an experience that isn't this more surface level, isn't really meeting the root need, the root desire that we have. So first, going over you can write your list. We all have our list. But going over your list and really thinking, one, are there a couple of things that I'm saying that are really talking about the same thing? I want weight loss. I want travel. I want a new job. Those all might go under the category of feeling freedom or alignment. And so then again, I'm just answering the root of that. Once I do that, I what I want you to then do is pick your top three. Many of us may have just one, which is great. You can have your one. Some of us have five or 10, and you're not going to do five or 10. No, you're not. Sorry. I mean, you may do, but you're not going to tackle all of them in the beginning, not on January 1st. So pick your first three that you really want to focus on because priority is so important to actually getting to the place you say that you want. We have to prioritize that. So pick your top three. And if you were to get to a place where you quote unquote achieved it or it feels more sustainable, then you can go to number 4 or number 5 on the list. So, first, you kind of write your list, be really playful with it, and then you choose and ask those questions of why do I really want this, and is there actually a deeper root behind this? And then you're going to choose your top 3 from a place of prioritizing. The other thing I want you to think about is as you start to list and think about your top 3, if there is no room for magic, then your dream, your goal isn't big enough. I'll say that again. If your top 3 doesn't leave room for magic, then it isn't big enough. I want you really to play with this idea that the thing that I am desiring, that there's an element of playfulness to it. There's an element of that I don't have to do it all by myself. I can, conceivably work really hard. And again, symbolically, when I say symbolic, meaning I can achieve the symbol, I can lose 5 pounds. That's doable. But if I want to feel a sense of expansion and flow and health in my body, I'm creating that with a bigger dimension of possibilities. So for me, I started this I want to call it a project, the project of really kind of reconnecting with my own body. Probably a month and a half ago, maybe almost 2 months ago, because I wanted to land on January 1st in this place of deeper connection with my body. And I'm saying that also as someone who formerly danced and was a choreographer, and and so me not feeling good in my body in this last year, I would say struggling with perimenopause, meaning maybe I'm there, maybe I'm not. I think my body was fighting me on a couple different things. I was traveling a lot this year, because I was seeing someone who didn't live in this country, and I like my body was just going through a lot. And even as I say that, as my body isn't just informed by movement, my body also speaks to me and informs me when I am emotionally doing things or taking on things that my body's like, and no, like, let us pause, as Melissa Shepard Williams said in another episode. Um, my body really is. I listen, but it can take a while for me to listen, and so my body can speak very loudly to me in ways. And so my body was really speaking to me this year. And I decided to listen and to really make it a priority, as we're talking about, right? Make it a priority. And so my body is also heavily connected to creativity. Again, as someone who moved, because movement was a function of dancing and of creativity for me, I gave myself the opportunity to reconnect those things. So I started taking a dance class or dance lesson once a week. I started taking a piano lesson once a week. I started working out more. For me, actually, I needed, just in the last couple of weeks, started working out when I can, twice a day. And I don't necessarily recommend that for everybody. That was something that I gave myself because I realized, as someone who was attracted to dance, I was someone who physically was attracted to moving a lot. As a dancer, you're practicing 2, 3, 5 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, depending on if you're in rehearsal, depending on if you're doing a show. And so I told myself, I was like, what would it look like? What would it feel like if I actually gave that to myself again in a way that made sense for my body at my age, but honoring the fact that my body probably needs a higher degree of movement because that's just naturally who I am. And it really has transformed a lot of things, including my health. So, yes, I wanted my body to also feel and look a particular way, but I really wanted to, most importantly for me, feel more in my alignment, more in the honoring of my body, more in, I guess, the flexibility and the suppleness of even my of creativity. My creativity, the source of that was from movement for me. And so for me to access other um, avenues of myself, I had to give myself a way, a door, a portal for that. And and so movement was and is that for me currently. So again, I offer that as a way to again really evaluate, if I'm looking for weight loss, am I really looking for health? Am I really looking for alignment? If I'm looking for um, more money, am I looking for actually more freedom? Am I looking for a sense of flow? Because what would that money give you? What's the dream that's underneath that? So think about those things. And again, love. What am I looking for or what am I looking to get out of love? Is it love of friendship? Is it love of family? Is it love of a partnership? do I already have those things in my life and I just want to deepen those relationships, or am I wanting to grow my access to those things by adding a partner into my life or adding more friends into my life? And and so think about where I'm starting with all of this is that I want you to think about creating resolutions, really are, which are commitments and decisions that really are a deeper commitment to yourself and a deeper commitment to the true longing that is speaking to you, that is calling to you and is calling you forward. What I said about my body, it had been calling to me and actively protesting me for months and months and months. And I'll tell you, like during 2022, part of my travels, I was traveling to see a partner. That towards the end of that, like over the summer, I made a decision. I'm like, I'm going to take 3 trips, and some of them, one of them was solo, one and the other 2 were with my kids. But there was something about me giving myself this opportunity because I really wanted to hear myself. And I knew I needed to get away from the noise of the city, the noise of my work, even the noise of that particular partnership, and to hear what I more deeply uh, was longing for. And so I took a trip to the redwoods out here. I took a trip um, to Hawaii with the kids. I'd never been before, so I took them. That was actually the last trip. And then right before that, I took a trip to Ireland and to Amsterdam by myself. And I met my partner there for the last time. We had a day together, and then the rest of that trip was on my own. And I'd never taken a trip by myself before, so it was magical and an edge for me in a lot of ways. And and I will say, because of that partnership that forced me to travel so much to see that person, it gave me the courage to do that trip on my own. So here I was, and let's go back to this idea of magic. Here I was at the beginning of 2020, and because of the pandemic, we were all inside, and I was itching to get out, and I was like, this year I'm going to travel more. That's all I said. Like, I didn't have any big plans. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have gone very far. I definitely wouldn't have had the year I had if I hadn't met him. So I am grateful, so grateful for the partnership, because the partnership allowed me to stretch into this version of myself that I was longing for. And I wouldn't have stretched that much if that partnership wasn't available to me. So the path of least resistance, you may have heard me, I don't know if I've talked about it so much here, but let's just say that for me, the path of least resistance was partnership. And that partnership uh, galvanized me to do the kind of radical traveling that I longed for, but wouldn't have done without there being another person on the other side of that. And once I got my confidence up, the relationship ended. Also for other reasons, obviously. It wasn't like, I'm confident now, let's not be together. That's not what it was. But I will say that because of those 3 trips, I was able to hear what I needed and the next chapter. And it didn't, at this time, it doesn't include that person. And when we, again, going back to that place of the deep longing and the idea for me of love, it means being able to be brave enough to say yes, and to be brave enough to say no, and to be brave enough to say not right now. So asking yourself about the root of things, because we don't want to get caught up in the symbol, because the symbol can be what I would consider a mirage. If I'm caught up in the weight loss and getting into that outfit from 87 or that outfit from 97. And then I get in it, we celebrate that for 5 minutes. Like, woo, I could wear that outfit. And then what? Because then we have to ask ourselves, well, why did I need to see this in the mirror? Why did I need to experience this? Who am I now that I can do this? So you can ask that question when you get there, or you can ask that question before. But I am going to tell you, we oftentimes, when we're chasing the mirage, because it's such a surface level um, desire, that's when we often stop going to the gym, January 15th, February 1st, because it wasn't really the thing that we wanted. We hadn't really given ourselves the time to really speak to what we more deeply desired. So give yourself January 1st, even the first week. I really don't even do some of this work until first week, even the first month, because I like to feel the month for a minute. I like to feel the year. How does this year feel? What's happening? How does it feel in my body? I really don't want to pressure myself. So again, as I give you all this is information for you to play with and to not force. So here we are, your first three. Think about your list, all the 10, 15 things, the 20 things you wish you could do in 2023. Then you come down to your top three. And even within those top three, you really go over those questions of why I want this, of, what will I get? How will I be different? Um, you know, what are you really kind of looking to experience or feel, so that I really get to the root. And then I have my top three, like, root things that I want. And I'll offer you, again, normally they're around health, they're around a sense of abundance or freedom, and then usually around love and connection. Those three usually typically are in those for many, many people. So once you have that, then the next step that I would offer you, I got this from a workshop, and I apologize that I don't remember the name of the workshop, but we used to do it often. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. But it's the idea of clearing and cleaning the slate. Like, basically, you Marie Kondo not only your home, which I think is always a great idea to do this time of year, but also your dreams and your desires. Meaning, usually when we're at the end of a year, we're already starting to shove the new year, shove in all the things we didn't take care of. Well, there's these last minute jobs I need to do. I didn't meet someone last year, so I got to meet someone this year. Again, the weight loss, that didn't happen, or the travel, or the packing, or the moving, or all the things. Even if you're pregnant, right? What I want you to think about is that if I took everything, everything, everything out of this year, nothing exists. Nothing has to happen. I don't even have the job that I have. I don't live in the place that I have. I don't have the commitments or responsibilities that I have. Everything is gone. It's clean. And just sit in the emptiness of that. What does that silence feel like? Think about the space that creates. I don't have anything planned for 2023. It's all gone. And let yourself have that, and even let yourself have the tension of what that would feel like. Because there's people who will say, well, what do you mean? I still have to show up at work on the second or the third, and I still have to do this, and I'm pregnant, I'm going to have a baby, and I plan on getting married. It's like, yes, yes, yes. I'm not saying you can't have all those things. I'm saying just take a moment to get rid of all those things for just a moment, to feel the openness, to feel a sense of breath, to feel a sense of decision. Because what this gives you then is an opportunity to look at all those things you thought from that place of just responsibility or numbness or I have to and I should, to look at that list and say, what do I really want to take? Instead of blindly going from 22 to 23 and just dragging all that stuff into the new year, what if I say, hold on a second? What do I really want to take with me? And what do I have to say thank you and goodbye to? Thank you. Thank you for being in my year, but goodbye. I don't need you anymore. Maybe some of those things will be these resolutions that you keep dragging around from year to year. Like at one point, I actively had to say, I'm no longer going to be putting down, I'm going to lose 15 pounds this year. I just stopped because I wasn't doing it. And frankly, at the time that I was carrying that list around, I didn't need to. I was dancing. I was in shape. I was carrying that around because what I really needed to work on was my acceptance of my own body. What I really needed to work on was whether or not I wanted to be in an industry that didn't welcome my body as it was at the time. What I really needed to look at was my relationship to my own curves. Me dragging that like every year, 5 to 15 pounds or 15 to 20 pounds I'm going to lose. Me dragging that around was me just being numb to what I really needed to look at. And so when we clear the slate and then we make that list of all the things that we're supposed to be we're holding so tightly on in 2023, we give ourselves an opportunity to ask what we really need and to ask what we really want and to make, again, a new decision and a new commitment to ourselves and to the deeper, truer desires of our heart. If losing 15 pounds was really a desire of mine, I guess I would have had it. And at some point I did have it. At some point I did do that. And it didn't answer the things I needed. I felt good for a minute. I felt good probably for a month. But it didn't give me the peace that I was really looking for. I wanted to have peace in my body and peace in my relationship to my body. That's what I was looking for. And that's what most of us are looking for is some version of peace in some or many of the areas of our lives. So you have your list first of like, this is what I want. Then you're going to choose your top 3. You're going to ask questions about your top 3 so that you get really to the root of like, if I got this thing, what's the experience I really want? And then I'm going to put those aside and I'm going to look at 2023 and I'm going to think, well, what are all the things that I already have put into 2023? And I'm going to take all those things out, bump, 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 bump. And you can list it. Here's all the things. Because again, I want an open slate. I want an open field to one, put my 3 priorities in, but then to also put the things in that I really want to carry into the new year. And here we are in that balancing act of love and loss, because as I make these decisions, as I say these 3 things are my priority, if one of them is a certain level of achievement or an experience that I'm looking for in my career, I have to ask myself, what am I willing to do for that? Because if this is big enough that magic will show up, but it also is going to require some activity from me. I can't have all the things, that I'm dragging like a ball and chain from 2022 and then say, well, now I'm going to create these 3 new massive priorities. And now no, you have to have space for these things. And you actually also have to have space for magic to show up. And you have to have space to not be so attached to the outcome. That's why magic has to show up. That's why it has to be so big that I can't wrestle it to the ground. It has to be so big that I actually require magic to show up, which means I can release this idea that I know exactly how. it's going to happen or exactly how it's going to look. And in doing that, then I can actually relax and be more playful with the year that I'm creating. This should be an amazing year for all of us. Should. It can be an amazing year. And if you're listening to this, it's because you want it to be, right? And, maybe that's on your list. I just want an incredible year. That's priority one, whatever that means for you. So, as you are now with your list of 3 root things that you want to create over this year, and you now have this clean slate, and you can start putting things in. As you think about putting these things in, I want you to consider already, what am I willing to do to get it? What am I willing to do to have better health? What am I willing to do to have more love? And as I ask these questions, know that you already have access to the answers. Just like my body's been talking to me all year, kindly. It didn't divorce me, it didn't get rid of me. It stuck by me even when I wasn't paying attention. I still had the answers. Every once in a while I heard, pay attention to your body, put some more energy into your body. It kept talking to me even when I didn't want to listen. I mean, how beautiful is that? That I was never abandoned by my body or by the knowing or by a sense of connection in spirit, even when I was completely disconnected. It was always there for me. So as you think about wanting, instead of weight loss, better health, what am I willing to do? And listening for the answers for you. My deep listening meant you need to go work out a couple of times a day sometimes, because the weight that I was, not physical weight, but the weight that I was carrying in terms of the amount of responsibility, the amount of stress, it requires that kind of offloading. And for me, moving my body in these particular ways actually was very fun. It is fun for me. And so it was giving me a sense of connection with the people I was working with. And it was giving me the kind of playfulness that I wasn't always giving myself when I don't move my body. So for you, health might mean meditation, it may be breath work, it may be walking, it may be accessing other doctors or clinicians who massage or spas or the marathon or whatever it is that your body is really calling, longing for, with a little magic included. If we're talking about love, same thing. There are probably people in your life right now that could use more of your love. And so you can start activating love in your life now while you're potentially wanting to draw in more love from friendships, from partnerships. But it's hard to go from like 0 to 100. So saying, well, I know I'll feel better if I find that special person, but I don't have no other love in my life. Well, I don't know that it's going to work out that way. So first, think about, how do I activate, even if it's self-love, how do I start to activate love now? How do I start to get more love to flow into my life now from all the access points that are already available to me? And as that love and flow gets stronger, as I create more momentum, then of course, more friendship and more partnership is going to come into your life. For me, when I think about, because I'm on my own, partnership journey, I'm gonna call it dating journey, that for me, it's like I have a lot of love already in my life because I'm willing to risk, and I'm willing to be foolish, right? I'm willing to be foolish. I'm really willing to be playful. I'm willing to risk it all, and I'm willing to start over. So when you think about what am I willing to do, for me, I'm willing to do almost anything and almost everything. I'll try a bunch of different things, right? So I'll try apps. I'll try someone if I meet someone somewhere. I'll try dating coaches. I'll try all kind, right? Dating multiple people, different people from different backgrounds, or potentially people who may not have been who are maybe outside of what I may initially have been like. This is my narrow little field of who I would potentially date. Let's try it. Let's try it. Like that's my commitment to love, is to just keep going, keep trying. And, and for me, because I'm in this particular position of one, having a podcast, but two, being a therapist who deals almost exclusively in relationships and relationships with people who are creative and art makers, any crazy thing that I do is going to inform, my work and my clients. So, I have the added advantage of saying like, well, it'll help it'll help somebody. If it doesn't work for me, that's just more information and honestly more love I can give to my clients by saying, look, I'm willing to get out there. I'm willing to try. And because ultimately, because of my what am I willing to do, my commitment, I believe love is available. I because I have so much love already in my life. So I believe that love is out there for me. And I had it before. I have it now in a variety of ways. There's no reason why I can't continue to have it in a variety of ways, including partnership. So what are you willing to do? And be honest about that. And if there really isn't anything on that list of like, I'm only willing to do one thing, then maybe it's not a priority. Maybe it's just not a priority. Again, I had to stop putting that 15 pounds on my list because it wasn't as much of a priority. It wasn't a priority. And why wasn't it a priority? Because it really wasn't the answer. It was the symbol. It was a mirage. And so once I really started to address the real root, that's what I could commit to. That's what I could make a priority. And so looking at my notes, let's see. So let's go back because I don't want this to be forever. But the only three things: leave room for magic. I said clean the slate. To go along with that, Marie Kondoing your home, your dreams, your desires. The other thing I wrote down is I said to be ruthless. When you get rid of things, be ruthless. You do not have to be nicer. We don't have a lot of time here in this year and on this earth. You only have a year. Right? The idea about these resolutions, some of them, most of them, are that you're trying to complete them in this very short amount of time. So be ruthless, right? In clearing, because here's the other thing: less is more. This is not about doubling or tripling down. I'm going to do even more harder work, da da da. It's like, no. You want to be efficient and you want to be effective. And so if the thing for me is to be abundant financially, then what is the most efficient and effective way that is connected to my sense of knowing, that creates and allows for magic to come in? How do I create that experience of abundance with efficiency, with, again, connection, with flow? I'm looking for flow. So then why would you do a bunch of things that are actually take you out of flow? So see how if I continue to reference the root, it will help guide me this year on this journey. And then one of the things that I wrote down, it was also came from that thing that I used to do where you had to clean the slate. Is that I for probably I don't know, maybe 10 years now. I don't know. I should go back and look. I have a theme for every year. So the theme of 2023 is, and again, I probably give myself a month before I really land on the theme. The theme for this year of 2022 was surrender for me. And I'm still working on that. Still working on that at the end, the last couple of weeks of 2022. But I posted somewhere, it's in my bathroom, so I see it every day. And there's moments when I really look at it and moments where I just kind of pass it by. But for me, the theme was so that I allowed for help and service to show up, so that I'm continually reminded that I don't have to will and push this boulder up a hill by myself all year long, that I could surrender into grace. I could surrender into magic. I could, sometimes just like, all right, I'm gonna lift my hands up and whatever happens, happens. I honestly, recently I decided to do that even around this podcast, that in doing this, it's not the efforting. I will say financially, it's an investment because I didn't want to do something half-ass. And so I'm like, all right, this is my offering, but it is a financial, um, that's what I'm looking for. I'm giving something to it, right? And and so from that place, it's like, I don't know if I could financially commit to this without some level of support at some point. I'm not there yet, so don't worry, this will continue. But, I say that to say that that even in thinking about this, I was, I think, gripping the outcome as if this must be what I don't need it to be something. I had to I had to release that outcome. I have to surrender to, like, this feels really good, and I'm just going to commit to it feeling good for as long as it feels good. And I have to make space for magic to show up, right? So even as I tell you all these things, I am practicing them. Even if sometimes I'm doing it quietly or sometimes I'm doing it loudly. So I'm still having to remind myself, let magic in, let surrender in, let your dreams be so big that you can't carry them by yourself. That's what I'm doing. And so the last one I will offer, because I'll call this number 5, is to think about addressing all of your desires, especially these top 3 priority ones, through the lens of love. I'm gonna call this one lens, but these 3 things are in it. The lens of love, the lens of freedom, and the lens of joy. So again, when I'm moving towards the thing that I want, let's just say I want this podcast to be an incredible success. Let's say that. And so I can't do that by myself, right? That has to happen through connection, through an audience, through magic, really, because I've never done it before. So I don't know how it's supposed to happen. So that's such a big dream, right? I can't do it by myself. And so how that dream is going to come about is that I'm going to activate that dream from that lens of, how do I continue to infuse this with love? How do I continue to look at this activity, this thing that I want, from a place of love? If I love it, if I nurture it, if I see it as a thing that is so loving to me, it's something I can give love to and gives love back to me, that it is, then there's this energy, right, that is being created. Love is expansive. And so as I create this from that lens of everything I'm doing, I want to infuse and look at it through love, then I'm automatically creating something that is going to be loving and expansive. So if I also add to that the freedom, when I think about freedom, I've talked to clients about this before. Freedom means I'm not locking other things into it, right? So I'm releasing this idea that, like, this podcast means I I'm always selling something, and yeah, maybe I will. And I've mentioned some things here and there, but I had to unlock that, like, that this podcast, maybe put it a different way, that this podcast has to do a particular thing. Let me put it in a different way, that going back to the weight loss idea, that we usually link, if I lose weight, I'll be more attractive and therefore I'll have partnership. There's too many things that we're linking. If you want to lose weight, lose weight. If you want to feel more attractive, feel more attractive. If you want partnership, go get partnership. Do you see how it makes it easier that I'm not stacking all these things behind the one thing? So therefore, I can't have partnership or feel attractive if I don't lose weight. Do you see how now weight loss becomes a barrier? It becomes um, a stopping point for you getting other things. It's like a dam. It's like a dam. So when I think about the lens of freedom, meaning I want to unhook anything that's tying this down. So this thing that I'm creating, I don't want to tie it down with unnecessary thing. I can't get love if this podcast isn't successful. That I don't want to tie those two things together. I should be able to get love, and this should be able to be successful. Those are two different things. I don't have to link them. So unlinking, freeing yourself, feeling lighter, undamming the things that you're for some reason pushing together. And then the last one again is joy, meaning I'm always trying to follow what feels good. I didn't mention this podcast is number 10. Can you imagine? I've done 10 of these. And to me, it's so symbolic because it wasn't planned. It's so symbolic that this is landing on the 1st. The 10th is on the 1st of January, 2023. How beautiful is that, right? How magical is that? And I chose to launch this on, I think it was it had to be November 13th, because 13 is my favorite number. So, right? Like, I love how these things kind of come together. So when I'm doing this, or when you're doing anything, when you're thinking about, again, your priorities and you're going after them, you're moving towards them, that you're moving towards them from the place of like, how can I feel? Does this feel like alignment? Does this feel like connection? Or does this feel like it's fighting me? Or does this feel like just awful and like torture? Then why would you, right? Why am I torturing myself to, again, lose weight? Why am I making myself starve? Why am I putting myself through things that just feel like painful? That's not sustainable. And I'm going to hate it when I get to the conclusion, when I get to, okay, look, I fit those clothes, but I hated the process. So I'm not going to hold on to it. Me moving my body right now, it feels fun. It feels hard, but it feels fun, and I'm doing it with people that really delight me and bring me joy. So it really is a joyful experience, even though it's hard. So I'm infusing my connection to my body from this place of connection. I'm trying to connect to myself, and while I'm doing that, I'm connecting to the people that I'm working with. Again, my own journey around my body, infinite freedom is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my joints to feel good. I'm looking for my muscles to feel good. I'm just looking to just feel really delicious in my body. And I'm coming to it from a really loving place. Me working out twice a day is loving to me. For you, it may be walking, once every other day, and walking with your children, or walking with your partner, or walking with your pet. And that feels joyful to you. So you have to listen, all of this, right? It's a framework for you to really hear yourself. And it's a framework so that you can really access what you're really intentionally wanting to create and wanting to see in your new year. We all have that vision of ourselves and that ideal experience that we want for this new year. Move towards that from that loving, freedom grabbing, joyful place, and really own what that is. And it's hard for us to own it when we've already filled our year with all this other junk. Driving around, basketball practices, you know, putting that thing in the 401k, blah, blah, blah. All doable things. And probably some of it really boring things. The idea that I'm just going to impose my ideal, incredible, joyful, magical self on that, you see how they don't connect, right? So clear it all out. Let yourself see the vision, and then let the vision lead you to itself. And clear what needs to be cleared. I know you can't do it in one day, but once you know, hey, like maybe this job isn't for me, I'm not telling you to quit. I'm telling you to then make a plan. But first you have to hear. You have to get to that place where I can truly hear what it is that my body, my spirit, my soul is telling me. And we've had that clearing. That's what that pandemic was for. So we've already had the experience of putting a bunch of stuff in 2020 and having it all go away. You know how to do this. You've been prepared for this in the suckiest of ways, but we're all now prepared to really deeply listen to ourselves and to really be brave and courageous in this new year. And it's worth it. It's worth it because what you're desiring is just you. What you're desiring is the truer, most authentic version of you that can show up in 2023. And that'll be very different than who you might show up in 2030. And who cares? We're not there. So all of this is about, how do I let myself have? How do I let myself have me? How do I let myself meet the me that is calling me forward? My highest, truest, most loving self that is not, I always say this, is not trying to ruin your life. That version is calling you forward in 2023. Listen, and then take one step at a time towards that person. You will be happier. You will be happier if you let yourself move. If you let yourself move towards oh, what's coming to me is towards that love. And isn't that what this is all about? Moving towards love. I'm just giving you a framework, a playful framework to let you access the love that you desire. And so welcome that love in to 2023 and get rid of all the gunk and all the mess that is shadowing that experience. And so happy New Year. I'm wishing you all, to start this new year off right, I'm wishing you all so much love. And I will continue to put these out every week and joyfully from a loving place of freedom. I will put these out. And I look forward to what comes forward for me and what I can share with you next week. Happy New Year. And I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. As always, please share, comment, and like so we can grow our community and bring more love to those you love. Great reviews mean a great deal to our work, so take a few minutes and write us a love letter today. Our hearts appreciate every word. Tune in next week for another episode.